Welcome back everybody to another one of my aviation history videos, and today we're looking at episode 15 in the history of RCAF units. And today we're going to be looking at 412 Squadron. Now, from flying Spitfires in World War II to Prime Ministers today, it has one of the most interesting and unique stories in the RCAF, in my opinion. But before we get too far into that, my name is Sean and this is Sean's Aviation. So 412 Squadron was formed on June 3rd of 1941 in Digby as a fighter unit and received the squadron code VZ. They received their first aircraft, Spitfire Mark IIAs, in July and began to work up for operational status. They flew their first operational sortie on August 31st when they were scrambled, but the mission ended uneventfully. The unit's first offensive mission was on September 21st when the unit, along with 411 and 266 squadrons, flew a patrol over northern France. Enemy aircraft were sighted and they came under anti-aircraft fire, but no enemies were engaged and they suffered no casualties. The first kill recorded for the unit was on October 13th when an Me-109 was downed over France during a fighter sweep. Interestingly, one of the early members of 412 Squadron was Pilot Officer John Gillespie McGee, who joined the unit on September 23rd. He had written the now famous poem High Flight and had mailed it home to his parents just a few weeks before on September 3rd. He was later killed while in service with 412 Squadron on December 11th during an in-flight collision with an Airspeed Oxford during a training flight. On October 20th, the unit moved to Wellingore and began to transition to the Spitfire Mark V-Bs, and they would fly these for just over 2 years. On May 1st of 1942, the unit moved to 11 Group and relocated to Martlesham, and then North Weld on June 4th. June 19th brought a move to Marston, then on to Tangmere on August 24th. September saw them join the famed Kenley Wing, and they moved to Red Hill on the 23rd, and then Kenley on November 2nd. In January of 1943, the unit was reassigned to 10 Group and moved to Angle on June 23rd, Fairward on February 8th, Perranporth on April 13th, and then Friston on June 21st. In July, the unit joined the 2nd Tactical Air Force and was planned to be an important part of the upcoming invasion of Europe. The unit began to train for close air support, including bombing. On July 14th, the unit moved to Red Hill, and on August 8th, they moved to Staplehurst. On October 14th, they moved to Biggin Hill, and while here in November, they replaced their Spitfire Mark Vs with the newer Spitfire Mark 9Bs. During this time, one of Canada's most famed aces, George Buzz Burling, arrived at the unit after having a run-in with the CEO of 403. He was known for his independent style and disdain for many of the rules inherent with military life. Things did not change while in 412 Squadron, and he was permanently grounded in December. He was credited, however, with his final air-to-air victory while assigned to 412 Squadron. In April 15th of 1944, the unit moved to Tangmere, and soon after took part in the Normandy invasions on June 6th. By June 18th, the unit had relocated to the continent, and as we have seen before, the unit moved from base to base following the front lines as they moved west towards Berlin. The bases they were located on while on the continent are as follows: B4, Benay-sur-Mer, France, June 19th. B18, Cristeau, France, August 9th. B28, Avlou, France, August 29th. B26, Hilaire-l'Evesque, France, September 2nd. B44, Poix, France, September 3rd. B56, Evere, Belgium, September 6th. B68, Le Culot, Belgium, September 21st. B84, Rip, Belgium, October 4th. B80, Vocal, Netherlands, October 15th. B88, Hesch, Netherlands, December 6th. B108, Rhine, Germany, April 13th, 1945. B116, Wunstorf, Germany, April 16th. And B152, Fassberg, Germany, May 13th. Now, many notable events happened while located at some of these bases. On July 17th, while based at Benay-sur-Mer, Charlie Fox, who had joined the unit just before D-Day, attacked an unmarked black sedan car that was driving through the French countryside and was seen to drive off the road into a ditch. It later turned out that this was the famed Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, and this attack seriously wounded him, rendering him ineffective for the rest of the war. In September of 1944, they re-equipped with the Spitfire Mark 9E and flew these to the end of the war. Once the war ended, the aircraft joined the British Air Forces of Occupation and stayed in Germany until 1946 to ensure that peace was not broken. They flew Spitfire Mark 14s during this time and were based at B-174 Uetersen, Germany. The unit was officially disbanded on March 21st of 1946. During World War II, the unit flew 12,761 sorties, flying 16,955 operational hours. It was credited with 106 aircraft destroyed, 11 probable, and 46 damaged. It dropped 203 tons of bombs and was credited with 86 rail cuts, 282 vehicles destroyed with 721 damaged, 42 rail cars destroyed with 135 damaged, 22 locomotives destroyed with 84 damaged, and 1 tank destroyed with 10 damaged. The unit lost 63 aircraft with 21 pilots killed, 14 presumed dead, 11 POWs, 1 missing, 14 safe, and 1 who evaded capture. The post-war life of 412 Squadron started on April 1st of 1947 when No. 12 Communications Squadron, located at RCAF Station Rockcliffe, was renamed 412 Composite Squadron. On April 1st, 1949, it was renamed again to 412 Transport Squadron. It very quickly became known as a VIP squadron, as it was used to fly many of the RCAF brass from HQ in Ottawa, as well as prime ministers, foreign dignitaries, and the royal family. The unit was officially given the code AO and flew a varied fleet. The first aircraft had assigned were the Consolidated Liberators, Douglas Dakotas, and Beech Expediters. One of the Dakotas that was flown by 412 was known as DAC 1000 for its airframe number, and was a one-off airframe as it had a passenger door versus the normal cargo door used on military C-47s. It also had a full passenger interior for the real VVIPs flown by the unit. In November of 1947, the unit retired the Liberators, but in April of 1949, it gained the Canadair North Star, and this was a Merlin engine variant of the DC-4 with some other minor modifications, but I'm not going to go into those in this video. Later, in August of 1950, they received a Canadair C-5, which was another one-off airframe using a North Star's airframe, but with the original radial engines that were used on the Douglas DC-4. Now, this was due to the unbelievably loud noise of the Merlins, causing an unpleasant ride for the passengers on board, and the C-5 with the radials was a more conducive airframe for a VIP passenger load. In 1953, the unit received a Grumman Goose, but I can't find any records of how long it was with the unit. And also in 1953, the unit received the de Havilland Comet jet airliner, the only unit to fly this type in the RCAF. Now, due to the requirements of this airframe, the unit relocated to RCAF Station Uplands from RCAF Station Rockcliffe, which were only a couple of kilometers away from each other. Moving to Uplands gave them longer runways, as well as the space needed to house such a large, growing, and varied fleet. 412 began a scheduled passenger service between Ottawa and Germany to move personnel and families between the units in Canada and the units based in Germany. This meant that the RCAF technically had the first scheduled passenger service with a jet airliner anywhere in the world. In 1956, the unit received a small number of B-25s, which most likely were used as squadron hacks and to ensure pilots could stay current with night and IFR requirements without using the larger airframes normally flown. 1959 brought around the addition of the CC-109 Cosmo, a variant of the Convair 580. 412 was again the only unit to fly this type. Now, to put things into perspective, in the fall of 1959, the unit flew the Dakota, the Expediter, the North Star, the C-5, the Comet, the Mitchell, and the Cosmo. A varied fleet indeed. In November of 1960, the unit lost the Mitchells, and in 1962, the North Stars were retired as well. Also in 1962, however, the unit picked up a new type, the CC-106 Yukon, a variant of the Bristol Britannia, which also formed the basis for the CC-107 Argus aircraft. In 1965, the Comet was retired, and in 1966, the Sol C-5 was retired from service as well. The unit was absorbed into the CAF in 1968 when the unification of the forces took place. That same year, the unit received a small number of Falcon 20 jets, called the CC-117 in RCAF use, and again, they were the only unit to fly these. In the mid-1970s, the last Dakotas were retired, and in 1978, the unit's Yukons were also retired. Now, around this time, the unit set up a detachment in Lahr, Germany, to help move troops and personnel around the European bases, and crews and aircraft rotated through this detachment as needed. Now, in 1980, the Cosmos were retired, and the unit received two Dash 7s that were permanently based with the Lahr detachment. The unit also began to receive a small number of CC-144 Challenger business jets, which they still fly today, and the Falcons were retired in 1985. The Dash 7s were retired in 1987 and replaced with two Dash 8s that same year, these being retired in 1993 when the Lahr detachment was wound down following the RCAF ending of their NATO mission in Europe. With the retiring of the Dash 8s, the unit flew only the CC-144 Challenger, which is the airframe they still fly today. In 1994, when the military side of the Uplands Airport was closed, the unit moved into the Transport Canada hangar, where they still reside today. Recently, all the earlier Challenger 601s were retired, leaving only the two Challenger 604s and two brand new Challenger 650s. These are the only four aircraft with the unit and are numbered 144617, 618, 619, and 620 respectively. So where 412 Squadron goes from here is anybody's guess. I don't see the need for VIP transport disappearing, so I think 412 will exist in some form for the foreseeable future. What aircraft they fly is another question. Having four Challengers is great, but the Challengers tend to have short legs, and doing a direct flight from Ottawa to, say, Europe can be very difficult without a fuel stop. We are looking at a replacement for the Airbus 310s already happening with an A330, but now that means you're jumping from a Challenger to an A330 to get to something bigger. So personally, I see a need for a middle ground jet, something in the, global range. Whether that happens or not is anybody's guess. But like I said, I think we're going to see 412 Squadron around, fulfilling its mission and allowing its history to live on for a long time going forward. On that note, thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.